clarify, you haven't actually got teenagers?
No, I haven't got teenagers. No, don't worry. No, not that old yet.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back to the latest episode in the Off-Piste podcast. Today, we are looking at travelling with children. We are joined by two of our experienced team, and indeed one of them is our product lead as well. Good morning, Annie and Jess.
Morning.
Morning, guys. Thanks for joining us. How are we doing?
Good. Yeah. Really good. Sun is shining.
Really good. Yeah, absolutely. Nice to see some sunshine for once.
Lovely day out there.
It is a lovely day out there, and by all accounts, the webcams, it's lovely days in the Alps as well. St Anton looking absolutely fabulous at the moment. And we're also looking at Easter head-on at the moment as well from an experienced team perspective. So we've got clients heading out at the moment from the private schools, and then we've got more departures next weekend as state schools break up as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Up until kind of mid-April, I think our last client goes on the 15th of April. So a few weeks left of the season.
Excellent.
Get people travelling. Then
we can wrap up and put it all behind us once again.
Yep.
Of all these seasons we seem to get through.
Absolutely.
So travelling with children, it's something that's fairly intimidating for most people, I think. Two of us in this room are parents. One of us has recently been away with their 2.5-year-old. It is daunting for people. What's your top tips for really overcoming that anxiety initially when you're going away with kids? What's the preparation that should be put in place for tackling what feels like a sizable mountain and stage?
I think planning ahead is always key. We obviously are here to take the stress out of that for you, to help with all the planning to make it as smooth as possible, particularly with things like lessons. We obviously are here to help book your children's lessons and take that kind of stress away, but they do get booked up very, very quickly. So people that are travelling during the peak weeks, such as half term, New Year, Christmas, really need to be thinking about that at least 6 or 7 months in advance, if not a little bit earlier if possible, particularly, childcare, airport transfers, those sorts of things that will all need to be booked in advance. But ski lessons are absolutely one of those things that need to be booked a lot sooner, just because it gets booked up so quickly. Yeah,
and I guess the difference on that point for anyone who's more akin to skiing in the US is actually Europe has many ski schools within an area, whereas in the US the ski schools are solitary, they are single entities, whereas we deal with a whole swathe of them in every single resort, right?
Exactly. It's tons, so much choice, so many different schools that we could work with. We have brilliant relationships with the ski schools that we work with, so we'll always try and find the best fitting school or instructor for what your needs are, and not just this is the only option in this resort because it's owned by the mountain.
Yeah, I think on that there's lots of the ski schools are all independently run, so they all, although they're all in competition with each other, they all will have their own USPs and their own areas that you might find that is more suited to one person versus another. Some might be better for children, some might be better for more sort of adventurers wanting to do off-piste skiing. So you've got quite a mix of options out there. So when you're looking at family dynamics, we've got some really good ski schools that we work with that can cater for the whole family, from first-time skiers as children to the adults who have got much more experience,
or off-piste and teenagers that want to do crazy fun things like
I was going to say
freestyle skiing or anything like that.
At what point does that boundary shift from it being ski school to a guide?
I think it depends really. I mean, in terms of probably experience or level, I'd say we're getting a lot of people that want to do the guide and just have a guide to show them around the mountain and not focus on the technical aspect. So, I mean, I've got sort of teenagers that are able to just go with a guide because they're classed as advanced skiers, and adults as well.
To clarify, you haven't actually got teenagers?
No, I haven't got teenagers. No, don't worry. No, not that old yet.
So I guess that planning element essentially would mean you're saying months in advance. That would be people planning during the summer, really, to get those ski guides
and the winter
ski school locked in, ready for Christmas period, and even for New Year and half term, getting towards the end of the summer period to be looking at that. What is it in the travel element? You've mentioned transfers, but I guess what guidance and learnings have you had from all of the families that we have go away, that are a core part of what the business is. Skiing is just a fantastic thing to do with family. From the travel side of things, what have you really found as best practice, some guidance, some preparation ahead of actually getting to the resort? What's the best advice in that area?
I think just to kind of think about all aspects. So not just your ski lessons or your childcare options for when your family is actually in resort, but thinking about the preparation of getting to the airport, making sure you're there plenty of, a few hours before. In terms of transfers, we've got road transfers that we can book for clients. Clients can often take the train if they want to take the train for a nice scenic journey to resort, depending on where they're staying. We've also had a bit of a rise this year, I would say, in people wanting to do helicopter transfers. If they're able to, stretch to that, then that's a really good option and a way of getting on the slopes really, really quickly from landing at the airport to, getting your bags and getting straight on the heli. I would say the transport is probably the key thing, really, because that's going to get you there quickest. People are also thinking about what resort they want to go to, depending on transfer timings. So a lot of the French resorts could be up to 3.5 hour transfer journey, but sort of Val d'Isère, Tignes, but some of the Megève and Chamonix are only an hour to an hour and a half away. So I think that's a really key part of people choosing which resort they want to go to as well.
I mean, 3.5 hours for an adult can feel like a lifetime.
Yes.
But Annie, I'm sure that you think that the
with
thought of
kids.
3.5 hours with a little one in the car.
Traveling with a toddler or young children, it's a lot. And I think that's where we work with some fantastic companies offering private transfers. So making that journey more comfortable, having that space. A lot of the companies will have sort of trailers for luggage and things as an optional add-on. So, you've got that kind of space in the car to fill it with any toys or games or anything that you want to take to make the journey more pleasant for you. And taking loads of snacks. Snacks are always a winner with any travel with children. So having bags and pockets full of snacks is something that I would definitely recommend for any long journey.
And knowing you, Annie, there for you as well.
No, that's just for me.
Right.
But no, I think it's definitely just keeping any way to keep them entertained. But having those your comfortable journeys, that's where our relationships with those transfer companies, we can figure out what people need and work out the best transport method.
Yeah. Or what vehicle they might like if they want to go a little bit high end. We've got brilliant companies that work only with Mercedes V-classes, which is a really great option for a bit more comfort, but also a really good size, kind of boot size and lots of luggage. Or we can go right up to Mercedes Sprinters, which are 15-seaters that have plenty of space inside as well. Or coaches if there's large corporate groups. Had a corporate group that went to Verbier recently, and I think there was 25 of them. So they had a large coach, which worked really well.
But no children on the coach.
No children on the coach, no.
Yeah.
But otherwise, there's lots of different options for people to use.
And clothing-wise, I know it's a fairly mundane topic, but it was something that was keenly on my mind before I went away, because the last thing I wanted was my little one to be frozen on the slopes or cold. Thankfully, it was spring skiing, so I think she was probably overheating. But obviously, seasonal change is significant in the Alps. You do get that spring skiing, which is really warm. You get the deep winter skiing, which is blisteringly cold.
Yeah.
What's the guidance on that point of view?
I would say layers, always layers. Just making sure that you don't want a cold, grumpy child. You want to make sure that they've got the layers so that they're warm. And if they get too warm, then there's options to take a layer off. Obviously, it's a tricky one, especially if you're traveling for the first time with children, because you don't know if they're going to like it. They're small, so they grow very quickly, and you don't want to invest in loads of very expensive ski wear when you know that the next year they will have grown out of it. So it's you can, if you've got friends that ski, it's always good to kind of borrow things off of them, or buy secondhand. There's also great companies out there like Eco Ski and equivalents where you can rent the clothing sustainably, and I think in terms of other ways of keeping warm, I think those mittens that have the string attachment on, so
They're not losing their gloves.
You're not losing gloves.
Yeah.
So I think that's always helpful.
I think one tip as well in terms of making sure that it's affordable for lots of people where children are growing so quickly, get those layers and get everything in advance, maybe here in the UK or wherever you live before you travel, because often out in resort, yes, there's lots of shops where you can get these items, but they tend to be really expensive, especially if they're in resort and your child is only going to wear them for that ski holiday and then they're going to grow out of it by the time they go away again next year. So that might be a good kind of thinking ahead and trying to plan ahead for that. Yes,
there's definitely
there are
a
shops.
mindset change.
Yeah.
I think you forget when you say, "Oh yeah, we're going skiing this year, so we'll buy little Timmy his clothes." And you realise you're not actually going skiing for a year; you're going skiing for a week.
Yeah.
That's a very expensive,
cost
investment per day on clothing. Which I realised because I did exactly what you've just told me not to. But each to their own, shall we say? So once we've discussed pre-travel, getting there, clothing. In resort, obviously, is where the excitement happens. Now, having gone away recently, as I said, with my 2.5-year-old, nearly 3 now, I thought, oh, brilliant, she'll go on the slopes, she'll ski all day. I'll get to go and do some skiing, and it'll all just be wonderful because she'll have a great time the whole time. I soon realised that actually skiing a whole day for a small child is a huge undertaking. Everything is exhausting about skiing, whether it's walking in ski boots to the lift or even the excitement of going in a cable car the first time. These things are all exhausting and they take energy away. Yeah. From planning ski schools, which I guess predominantly the majority of our clients are doing for their little ones, what's the most popular approach to dealing with that? And then I guess what are some of the tips and tricks that we know about, whether that's resorts that you go to or half-day, full days, mornings, afternoons, those sorts of things?
I think typically we see, depending on the age of the child, we typically see parents wanting the children morning ski lessons 100% kind of booked in. They know they're going to be there from 9 till 12 or 9 till 1. And then generally parents can meet up with them for lunch. And after lunch, maybe they'll ski together as a family, or they'll do something else, or they'll go and use the spa in the afternoon, maybe at their hotel or chalet. Or if they want afternoon private lessons tend to be the way forward, given that the groups don't really run in the afternoons. It's kind of mornings or full days only. But I think... getting those morning group lessons is the trickiest thing that we find because it's the most requested kind of activity to do, particularly in those peak weeks over half term and New Year and Christmas and Easter. So getting that booked in early is a real, I would say a real kind of, you need to get that locked in. That's something that's really important. But some parents are wanting the child to go in all day. And like you said, all day for a little one, depending on how old they are, maybe they're 5, 6, a little bit younger, is a really long day and a really long time for them to be out on the slopes. So I think people are maybe a bit more aware of that now and maybe thinking of other things they can do in the afternoon to break up that day so their child isn't absolutely exhausted once they finish their morning or their day on the slopes. But
I would say on that as well, there are some of the ski schools, especially the local ski schools, will have a partnership with a creche. So some for the younger children, there's sometimes the option of you might book in for half a day or a full day, and you have part of that is skiing, or maybe for the really little ones, just familiarisation with the snow and wearing ski equipment and that kind of thing, playing games in the snow. And then they've got the childcare facility as well. So it's a bit of both. So then it's not just full on, you're on the slopes and getting exhausted all day. You've got a bit of fun. You've got a mixture of everything. So that's a good way of breaking it up for those children that might not have the stamina to go in full on for a whole lesson.
There's also a really good opportunity that kind of a lot of ski schools tend to do 9 till 11 now, sort of short mornings, so you don't have to do the 9 till 1 or the 9 till 12. If they think 2 hours a day is enough for their child, then 2 hours can be a really good amount of time for the little one to get accustomed to it, particularly if it's their first time. And it can just give them a bit of an insight into what it will look like to sort of ski all morning. So those 2-hour lessons can be a really good way to ease them into it gently. And then perhaps they could pick up some afternoon lessons as well later in the week. Yeah.
I guess one of the factors that we haven't actually discussed is just that sense of abandonment from both sides. I think, handing over your child to someone who's a little bit of an unknown can be a bit daunting, but I think the message is that these guys have been doing it so long and so well, and they're such great partners.
Yeah.
That actually they're in safer hands with the instructors and
Oh, yeah.
everything than they are with parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the understanding of the resorts and everything else as well.
They're so experienced with children, so it's they that is what they do every winter, day in day out. That's just so that is their experience. So looking after young children and knowing how to handle them, especially with the sort of separation from parents, and obviously that is kind of. Yes, it depends on the personality of the child. Some children will walk straight into ski school and not worry, and others will be really upset about leaving their parents. And the ski instructors will know how to handle that, and they can, the children are in safe hands. They know what they're doing.
So once those children are handed back, I guess, Annie, this is more pointed at you from a product perspective. There are hotels, chalets. We discussed this in one of our earlier podcasts with the level of amenities that are going up. That afternoon where the kids aren't skiing, children aren't out on the slopes, how does the choice of property really impact the child's experience of being in the mountains?
I mean, there's just so much out there to do now. It's not just about the skiing. So and that's where the product options really cater for every need. You've got hotels like Badger's Palace in St Moritz that have this amazing children's club with a program of daily activities. They do cookery classes, they do children's yoga and massages and everything. So if you want to really have a full wellness program for your children, you can do that. Or if they want to go out ice skating and things like that, they've got every option. You've got Les Arels in Courchevel, who they've the same sort of set up in terms of a great kids club with activity programs, but they've also got probably more so for the older children, but I think they've got an arcade and a games room, cinema room, and so you've got everything. So you go out skiing in the morning, you can go back in the afternoon and just do any activities you want to do, and then from the chalet side, a recent addition to the portfolio is the Gestad Promenade, which is a chalet, and it has a sleepover suite. So I think it has it's something like four single beds all lined up, so children can all bunk in together, especially if you've got a couple of families or maybe cousins or all sharing a room. They've got their sleepover area, and then the chalet has the swimming pool, cinema room, and games room, and everything like that. So it's a really fun place to be. And another one I would say, I think it's Tivoli Lodge, that has an actual soft play centre within the chalet, and it has a ball pit and loads of fun activities for the children. So there's really sport for choice. There's so much out there, and that's just that's just
a handful of
the options out there. But I'd say a lot of the hotels have kids clubs, and they're all brilliant. And the sort of what's included varies on what the hotel offers, but it's really exciting and it's really fun. And I think probably I've been more aware of it since becoming a parent as well. So it's sort of on my radar a bit more what facilities are out there. But and it's growing. There's more and more things coming up every year.
Yeah.
I think some of the facilities are so good that sometimes you don't need to leave the chalet or the hotel. If you really don't want to, you could spend your time
and that's what makes
there
it really
the whole
good
time
for multi-generational families as well, because it's not. I mean, it's not just about the children; it's about the different groups. And you've got so many chalets have their spa facilities, they've got the cinema rooms, etc. So you've got multi-generational families who they've got something for everyone, and it's great.
Bit of everything.
Yeah. So that old vision of having grandparents stuck in the chalet with the kids whilst the parents go skiing doesn't really. Well, if it does exist, at least everyone's having fun now in the chalet rather than all huddled around the 14-inch CRT TV sat in the corner.
Yeah.
How things have come on. But there's also fresh and kindergartens separate to the properties as well, run by ski schools as well?
Yeah, tend to be run by ski schools or sort of in conjunction with ski schools. We work with quite a few companies that are solely childcare, so they'll be able to provide the nannies, babysitting services, or they'll have a kind of play club or a creche where you can drop your child. I think the nice thing about that is that the kids are not just going to be solely one-on-one with a nanny on their own. They're going to be in a creche with other kids and they can make friends. And, you know, it's a real sense of maybe sort of that group ski school element where they would make children would make friends throughout their holiday. If they're too young to ski all week, or they only want to do a couple of days of lessons and dip their toe in, taking the child to a creche or a kindergarten is a great way of them meeting other kids, making friends, and also for the parents to feel that they're kind of, you know, maybe don't have that sense of just abandoning them with a technically a stranger or a ski instructor for the week. They're going to have a great time doing some really fun activities and making some little friends along the way as well. So I think that's a great way of looking at it and helping out with the childcare options, so the parents can enjoy themselves on the slopes and go to après or go skiing, whatever they prefer to do while they're out there.
Of course, there is the private nanny option as well. So for families that do want to have someone dedicated to their child or their children, then they do have that option as well for that dedicated private nanny experience, which can be arranged pretty much anywhere in any chalet and any hotel. So that means they can use the facilities at their property.
Of course, getting rid of the kids isn't always part of the holiday experience, of course, there is so much now in resort as well in terms of activities that can be done as a family. So those afternoons can be busy. You know, you've got tobogganing, you've got ice rinks, you've got a whole plethora of things that can be done. Obviously, that appeals to very different age ranges once the kids are a bit older. But there's plenty to be doing that isn't on the slopes or in the property.
Yeah, totally. I think probably this season more than ever, we've particularly seen requests for not just ski lessons now. We're being asked to put together, you know, itineraries for people that don't just include your standard lessons. They want to do, you know, tobogganing, like you've mentioned. Some of them will want to go ice skating, or they'll want to do dog sledding, or any kind of different activities that are quite fun, quite out there. Paragliding, depending on which resort. Heli skiing, again, depending on which resort you go to. So I think, yes, of course, you know, ski lessons or private guiding or off-piste skiing will always be one of the main reasons that people do want to go out to the Alps or go hit the slopes. But we're seeing so many sort of more people requesting those non-ski activities, and just real kind of, you know, out the box activities, I guess, or kind of bucket list things that they might not get the chance to do on a typical summer holiday. You know, ice diving and things like that, all sorts of random activities that are really fun. We love getting requests like that because it just makes our job, you know, a little bit more exciting than just ticking off our kind of booking our lessons and booking our transfers. It's something fun that we can really get our teeth into and put some brilliant activity ideas together. So yeah, we're seeing that more than ever, I would say, this year. People are really keen to do non-ski stuff as well as skiing.
Not so exciting, but something that is fun for a family to do is the kind of most resorts will have a kind of some form of leisure facilities like a swimming pool or you know those kind of public
spa areas,
public
wellness.
spa and wellness areas. So you've got one of the best ones that we know of is Aquamotion in Courchevel, which is a really big swimming pool. It has water slides. It has a surfing experience. It's got the spa area and everything as well. So that's a really kind of fun place to go for families when they're not skiing. And I think some of the ones, I think it's the one in Maribel, has like a climbing wall and things as well. So there's lots of other things to do.
Yeah. I think also, particularly if the weather's bad and you've got the white out and it's not kind of the nice blue sky with the sun out, people don't want to be on the terrace after a really long lunch. If you are a bit shattered from your day on the slopes and you think, right, well, maybe I can just escape and get some downtime. These spas or leisure facilities can be a really great way of spending time together as a family, but sort of indoors and sort of just seeing what else the resort has to offer, as opposed to just being out on the mountain if it's a particularly not a nice day and looking for something else to do, or the kids are a bit tired from skiing all day.
I was going to say, even if the kids are tired and it's cold outside, despite a whiteout or anything, it can just be a little bit too aggressive temperature-wise. So the escape cold is always welcome.
Get some warmth.
If the weather, if the weather's good though, and they do want to stay outside in the snow, there's always, I think it's just remembering it's not all about the organised activities. It is about the kind of the authentic experiences as well of the purely just going and playing in the snow, having the opportunity to have fun in the mountains, and having, building snowmen, taking some sledges and just going down the nursery slopes, or just if there's a little slope outside your chalet, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're where the memories are made, and that sometimes it's not necessarily something that's been booked in advance or organised in advance. It's just experiencing the mountains and experiencing the Alps.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We don't get to make snowmen in the UK anymore. So,
It's very sad.
yeah, it's a nice experience. And having watched Elsa a lot recently, I can attest to the fact that snowmen are very important in this world. So with all that being said and done, we've seen a lot of trends, as you say, this year with client requests. Properties are stepping up their game in terms of the amenities they're offering, which we're seeing across everything, not just the child-friendly aspect, shall we say. What are we expecting next year might look like?
I think, to be honest, I guess it's depending on what resorts become the most popular, where people are starting to book. We've had a lot of people rebooking this year immediately after coming back from those February half-term trips, just because they know their chalets or hotels will get booked up again quite quickly. So the rebooking has been really strong, which has been brilliant. Next year's already it's kind of scary to think about next year already, considering we're not even at the end of this winter season yet. But at Oxford Ski, we're always planning ahead, aren't we, for the next year, and thinking ahead to the next season, and thinking how can we make next season better than this season. So I would think at the moment we are, we're going to start contacting our clients that are traveling next year kind of towards May. We are seeing that some suppliers that we work with in resort are taking bookings for next year already, for the likes of childcare and transfers. But for those ski school lessons, they sort of tend to wait a few weeks and then get all their instructors' kind of diaries back in for next year. So I think next year's looking brilliant already, really strong on our rebookings. I think in terms of trends, I guess it depends on kind of if there's anything new happening in resorts. We normally have a really good end of season roundup with all the suppliers we work with. So it'd be good to kind of see if anything new is happening for next year for those as
Are
well.
we seeing that in properties within certain countries or resorts that are really developing themselves at the moment?
I would say there's a real increase in luxury properties coming up in Italy and the Dolomites. You do see more kind of popping up now, which is fantastic, because it's a really high demand, somewhere that I'd say high demand destination. Lots of people are really interested in going to. And yeah, I think that just generally like the trend of having those extra facilities, the non-ski the non-ski activities and the facilities being available to clients. Properties are aware of that, and they're adding on those extra services and yeah.
So even those that are already there are being improved all the time, upgraded.
Yeah, always, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
or
always in
upgrades to
competition.
spas, or upgrades to activities they can offer and things like that as well.
Yeah.
New restaurants opening, maybe new pop-up restaurants, that kind of thing. Because I think food as well. We haven't really talked about food yet, but food is such a big part of people's family holidays, particularly if you're going with children. Not every family wants to eat at a Michelin star restaurant. They want to have that real traditional, maybe fondue one night. They want a classic pizza the other night, just to keep things really easy for the kids. So I think things like that are always changing, and we're always seeing new restaurants being added or improved or extended. So it's a really good kind of indication as to hopefully how things are. Yeah.
And I guess that's the balance we've had also with the extension of the portfolio into the self-catered side, is actually that gives more freedom to families to manage things on their terms, which historically we've not necessarily appreciated, because there has been such a drive in that luxury catered end of the portfolio that we've had that has been very much our core.
Yeah.
To now actually give that freedom, and it's been hugely popular. That must be a great option for families who just want that ability to, I guess, live a more normal life whilst on holiday, more akin to what they're used to at home, so that they can control the things that they know they want to control. They know what their kids like and everything else. So
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And the self-catering part of it that we talk of, it's not just standard self-catering. These are luxury properties. These are you're still getting everything that you would have done if you'd have booked a catered chalet previously. You're not having that service aspect, but you've still got these luxury facilities. And I think, from a family point of view, you've got everything, you've got that flexibility, and then there's so many fantastic restaurants coming up, and then you've got most properties. They might have an option where you can add some flexible catering here and there, depending on the property, but you might be able to get some extra services. So if you did want a dinner here or there, or a meal delivery or something like that, there's often arrangements that can be made for those kind of things. So you can definitely notice the trend in the type of the way that people want to travel and what they expect from their holiday.
Yeah, which of course we're always trying to expand to and expand the portfolio to accommodate. So here comes the gripping question that's always asked, and I always ask of everyone.
Yeah.
If you were given the freedom to go anywhere tomorrow, I appreciate we're at the end of the ski season, so it might not be a ski destination. If you had the freedom to go anywhere tomorrow and pick up sticks and go, where would you go?
Oh God, that's such a hard question. To be honest, I'd probably choose New Zealand. I love New Zealand. I'd love to visit New Zealand. I think New Zealand would be an amazing place to go to. But I think if it was going to be a little bit closer to home, I'd maybe pick one of the little Spanish city breaks or something like that, like Madrid or somewhere like that. Lovely little place to go to.
Nice. Annie?
It's a difficult one.
So many places to go.
I mean, I'm desperate to go to New Zealand. That's somewhere is definitely on my bucket list.
Yeah, me too.
In terms of closer to home, if I'm thinking of a ski holiday, I really want to go to Hermitage Mountain Lodge in Soldier in Andorra. It looks like an absolutely stunning property, and I'd love to visit that area, or just generally anywhere in the Dolomites. Italy is just an amazing place. So they're probably my top picks.
Italy is featuring strongly.
Yeah,
through,
I know.
Through all recent podcasts, I think it's
I
definitely
was trying to steer
Yeah.
away from it, but something draws me back.
Not just the food.
Is the Winter Olympics, is that next year?
Yep.
2026
in
Cortina.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we might see demand for that. I'm sure that will be booked very, very quickly if it hasn't been booked already.
Yeah,
But
we are seeing inquiries coming in for that
Yeah.
at the moment, which is exciting. I think having the Winter Olympics so close to us is a great opportunity and a rare opportunity to jump on. So
yeah, people should
very
do so.
exciting indeed.
Yeah, if they're able to.
Absolutely. Thanks very much, guys, for joining us today. That's been really insightful as ever. If anyone's got any questions that they want to ask the team, get in touch. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. See you in the next one.
Thanks,
guys.
guys.